Greetings and salutations to all of our well-respected judges, teachers who teach us this beautiful Orthodox way of life, and fellow family and friends in attendance. Excuses, excuses, excuses. I, along with most everyone here, can relate to the use of excuses very well. We as a society do not want to take responsibility for our own actions, so we use excuses. There are pretty much an infinite amount of excuses. He made me do it, she made me do it, the devil made me do it, but the most common excuse has to be because it felt right. Most of us go with our gut feeling instead of following God's will. The problem here is our gut feeling is not always the right feeling. Our gut feeling can lead us away from the correct way of living a righteous Orthodox Christian life that is aligned with the sacred will of God. Doing what we feel is right and making excuses rather than following God's will not only occurs in the present, but has also occurred throughout the Bible. A prime example of this is the story of Adam and Eve. Both Adam and Eve ate fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, even though God specifically told them not to. It felt right to them to eat the forbidden fruit, and instead of following God's will. When God confronted Adam about this, he responded with saying, "The woman you gave me of the tree, and I ate it." Genesis 3:12. And then when God confronted Eve, she responded with saying, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate it." Genesis 3:13. As you can see, even the first humans used excuses to justify their sinful actions. Eating the forbidden fruit led to the beginning of sin in mankind. Unfortunately, this sin has not gone away. A modern-day example of this is the white supremacist group known as the Ku Klux Klan or the KKK. The KKK believe that the superior human being is a white Christian. They also feel it is justified to rid the world of all people that are not white Christians. There is no mention of this in Christ's teachings. In fact, Christ himself, as the second greatest commandment, said, "You shall love your neighbor as yourself." Matthew 22:39. As you have heard, there is no mention of race, color, or ethnicity. And if you're in need of even more proof, St. Paul exclaims, "There is neither Jew nor Greek, neither slave nor free, nor is there male or female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus." Galatians 3:28. So far we have established that following what we think rather than following God's will is like taking a wrong turn in the desert rather than following the right road to paradise. Lucky for us, God offers endless detours back on the correct path to his heavenly kingdom. One saint that took advantage of the detours back to Christ is Saint Mary of Egypt. For those of you who are not familiar with the story, at the age of 12, Mary ran away and fled to Alexandria. There she followed her own passions and sexual desires. She kept this lifestyle going for 17 years. Her goal was to provoke as many men as possible. One day, out of curiosity, she embarked on a voyage to view the feast of the exaltation of the cross. Once she arrived at the church, she could not enter. There was an invisible force that held her back. Once she realized that she was not able to enter due to her impurity, she prayed to the Virgin Mary. After the prayer, she was allowed to enter into the church and venerate the blessed cross of Christ. From that day forward, she denounced the temptations of humanity and dedicated her life to following God's will, which eventually led her to sainthood. Just a quick recap here. Saint Mary of Egypt followed God's will and led a holy Christian life and became a saint. When Adam and Eve disobeyed God's will, they brought sin into the world. I think it's safe to say that following God's will is the move. We must keep this in mind in our own daily lives, especially with the rising popularity of social media. It is now much easier to make snap decisions against God's will that just feel right. In the times that you are tempted to do, say, or post something that is against God's will, you must think of Saint Mary and denounce the temptations of the world and follow God's will. God makes his will easy for us to follow. Love God and love your neighbor. It is as simple as that. If you are able to remember those two commandments, you will be aligning your will with the will of God's, and you will not go wrong. You will be on the right path to living a saintly Orthodox Christian life. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.